Welcome to the What's Already podcast, where we fashion ourselves television judge and jury. My name is JJ Carter. I'm here with my co-host, Alec Burgess.
Let's get it.
Yeah, we appreciate you tuning in live or otherwise, watching the video, just listening. No matter how it is you're enjoying or despising our content, we appreciate it. Go ahead, hit the follow, subscribe, like, bell notification buttons, all those fun buttons that help you keep up with all of our episodes. Again, whether it's live or after the fact, get those notifications. Do us a favor, go leave us a review either on Apple Podcasts or Stitcher. So that'll help grow the podcast. Tell a friend about us. Tell your pediatric physician about us. Even if you're 80 years old, call them up. That might be trouble. They might be not around. If you're 80 years old and they were your pediatrician, that might be tough. But if your pediatrician's still kicking and you are too, tell them anyway.
Absolutely.
We are live, and we are live to talk about the season finale, episode 9 of The Last of Us, season 1. I'm kind of heartbroken.
Last episode hype. Let's go.
Yeah. I'm so sad that it's over.
Yeah, but it went out with a bang.
Literally.
Absolutely. So I want to ask you, JJ, because you've played through this game several times.
Yes.
How did it hold up? In comparison to what we're going to see tomorrow when we play through the last part live, are we going to be seeing a lot of similar scenes that we saw on the show, or is it going to be a little bit different?
Yeah, so like the scenes, most of the scenes that we see that aren't gameplay are shot for shot.
Nice. Am I going to see a motherfucking giraffe?
Yes, actually, you'll see more than just the giraffe.
Okay, I'm down.
Yeah, so I will say that it was very interesting because they're in Salt Lake City.
Right.
The shot that they took is not the same. So the background image is not the same. And I'm sure that's because there is a baseball field downtown. There's a baseball stadium for the Salt Lake Bees. But it's not where you would see the background that's in the game. So the background includes the big LDS temple and some of the skyscrapers. But I will say that like the image that they took is very makes the city seem much bigger than it actually is.
I noticed that.
Yeah.
I was like, shoot, where are we?
And what it seemed
Atlanta?
like the image came from, and maybe it was some city in Canada, maybe that's what they use that, but if they did, it looked very similar to an eastern shot from where the old Sandlot baseball field is, but I don't know. But the background's a little different because it features more of the prominent cityscape of Salt Lake.
Gotcha. Well, if that's the only thing they changed, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and then there was a slight change as to how they're overtaken by the fireflies. So the whole smoke grenade, Joel getting smacked in the back of the head for sure happens. But that happens just a little bit differently, but in essence, it's the same. But for the most part, I mean, it's a shot for shot. Yeah, crazy shot for shot. Probably the most, I don't know, last week was pretty shot for shot too, as we saw playing through. This one might be more shot for shot.
Wow. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, as far as non-gameplay goes, for sure. I think it's pretty damn shot for shot. And that's good because it's the most poignant part of the game. I mean, if you really get down to brass tacks and what, because it's almost like a recap of what they've been through, and they have that conversation. I will say that the dialogue is different, even though the shot for shot, there's no sit down, have this conversation where the conversation with Joel and what he tried to do to himself, that's not ever brought up. That doesn't happen in the game. There's no, how'd you get that scar in the game? That was something that was added for the show. And I think it worked for me. especially the part where like I choked up when she's like, time heals all wounds. He goes, it wasn't time that did it. I was like, oh, because that's
Yeah.
what this show and the game is all about, right? Is that depth of relationship and that growth of their relationship. And so for me, like that really hits home more than the very subtle aspect of the game, because the game never just outright says shit like that.
Oh yeah, you get hit with this hard and heavy. And it was kind of cool because it's like, okay, now we've hit that turning point where Joel needs Ellie more than Ellie needs Joel.
Yeah.
Which was very cool.
Yeah.
But they didn't, waste any time hitting you over the head with it to make sure you took it in stride and realized what was happening.
Yeah. Well, and I think from a show perspective, and that's one of the things that like it's tough. And now that we've gotten here, like I understand, because the show was much more subtle throughout about Joel's transformation, right? Like we had in his movement, like you didn't get any real indication that he was truly attached to this girl until the end of last episode, when he grabs her and he's like, baby girl, and like, I've got you and whatnot. Like that was his full on, and you can see it at the beginning of this episode. He's making plans for the future with her. He's, you know what I mean? In the game, there's a little more, like it happens progressively more, though there is a huge shift after what we saw last week. And you'll see that more. The one thing that I think they missed a little bit of is because the gameplay at the beginning, there's more opportunity for shiny getting. There's a little more walking. Like they don't just walk right into the piece where they have the giraffe. There's some subtle walking through like a checkpoint. There's and then so there's more of that before they get there. And Ellie's just so downtrodden. Like you can tell she was full on affected by what had happened. And it seems that she's been that way. They indicate or kind of lean into that it's been that way since they left Colorado, which is a long journey.
Long hoof to Salt City, yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, so I get like the needing to really kind of hit us over the head with it in the show, because you have, 20 hours of gameplay. Like we've been rushing through the game when I play it on Tuesdays. I normally am dozens of hours at least playing it, a couple dozen hours playing it, because I'm looking for shinies, I'm paying attention, I'm hitting all the story beats that I tend to skip past when we're trying to just run through what we saw on the show.
Exactly. All right, now here's the big question. Ashley Johnson finally makes her appearance as Ellie's mom. Somehow, the first 10 minutes is both way too long and far too short. In a final episode runtime, that was 42, 43 minutes?
Yeah.
Like, what do you think? Because I would have appreciated more backstory. Maybe the last half of this season, getting a little bit more, because 10 minutes is 25% of your final episode runtime. Like you have to spend so much time in the backstory. It's too long, but then it's too short because in that 10 minutes, it was such a good story. So I'm confused on that kind of why they went that direction. Like, what the hell?
I don't know. I don't know. That was a tough one for me because, and kudos to Ashley Johnson, because she made you want to see more of that character.
Yes.
Because that's what she does, right? Like, it's amazing to me that she doesn't have more. She hasn't had more major acting jobs than she has, because she just oozes charisma whenever she's on screen. I mean, and that's even when she was a little girl. I can't remember. She was on a TV show when she was a little girl, red hair, poofy, curly red hair. And she was like, she was fun to watch back then. I remember as a kid going, oh, this girl's cool. Because I'm a similar age, right? Well, now, like, I watch her, and in 10 minutes, I'm like, well, shit, I want that show. I want to watch her and Marlene come up together, because I don't like Marlene, but I loved Anna the 10 minutes we got to see of her, right? Like, she's tough. She's just, I mean, it was just, wow, what a cool character. And I wanted more. So I'm with you. And then I texted you earlier today, and I was like, I wish we had more of the gameplay piece that
Right.
we have in the game in this episode. Like I wanted, like, and I've been saying this for 2 weeks now since I found out the runtime was going to be 40, the shortest runtime of
Yeah.
any episode this season. I was like, wait a minute, hold on. There's a lot of content in here. And yes, a lot of it's gameplay in the game, but there's conversations that are happening and you're getting a feel for where Ellie's at and where Joel is at now that things have shifted after this whole David incident and his group. And I don't think, I mean, what they did was effective, but I think it could have been even more effective because you could have shown even more you see the sadness in Ellie and the fact that she's changed and that they're coming to an end of their journey and that's affecting her too. But what you don't see is the fact that she has lost almost all of her fear as well. Like the fear that she was hiding with her jokes and things like that, it's not there. She's a harder person. And she actually has this feel like she makes a comment that you don't get in the show, but you get in the game as like a little side conversation. And I don't remember the exact phrasing, but it's something to the effect of, I don't like she doesn't worry about being without, like she doesn't need Joel to protect her anymore or something like that, because and she's worried that there is no joy in the world. There's something like it, right? So you see that because she can't find just those things, and that's where the giraffe comes into play. Is it shifts her and go, okay, there are still beautiful things in this world, right? So we got a little bit of that, but I don't think we got enough of it. And I would have liked to have seen more, like one more infected attack where it's just nothing to her at this point, right? Like she's like, okay,
Right.
it's stressful because they're fast and they're mean and they want to kill us, but there are worse things out there than the
Like
infected.
what's even the point type of a thing.
Yeah. So but I loved the first 10 minutes, but I'm with you. I'm like, man, you chewed into so much of what you could have done with the episode. Give us a 58-minute episode.
Well, I would even have split it into two.
Sure, you could do that
I mean,
too.
9 is such an odd number to have when you have 8 before it and 10 after it.
Yeah.
Either squish everything down into 8 or extend it all to 10, because I could have dealt with that flashback, more of it being cut into more pieces, and interchanging that with kind of Ellie and her downer moments. Because then you kind of get it gives you an idea that pretty much from the get-go, her life has not been a pleasant one.
Yeah.
And this final incident with David in Colorado is kind of the thing that just pushes her over the edge in a very grueling environment in life. And you can understand it. And then save our final cut with Salt Lake and the Fireflies in the hospital and extend that a little bit, because, I mean, that whole sequence took like, what, 5 minutes?
Yeah. Yeah. That was also
they were rushing through that.
As we're sitting here talking about it, like let me throw this at you and see what you think.
Right.
Because what I think I wouldn't have mind seeing, now that I've thought through that and you've brought up that good point of, we didn't get enough and yet it was too much because of the fact that it was part of the episode that it was. Why not leave out the flashback part of this episode? Make it its own episode. Episode 9 is Ashley Johnson or Anna and Marlene coming up together, and you can skip time, show them before the infection that the outbreak, they knew each other as kids, show them as teenagers getting into trouble together, doing dumb shit, show them immediately after, like we saw Joel and Tommy immediately into the infection, right? And how they show them, for God's sake, starting the Fireflies together or joining them at the very least. And then showed us have it end with this moment, or not quite end, but then we have this moment we got of Anna coming back, Anna getting infected, giving birth to Ellie. And then as an ending show, and I know why they didn't do this part, because they didn't indicate that Ellie even knew who Marlene was in the first episode. Like it seemed like she didn't even know her. And in the game, you get to realize that Ellie knew Marlene, and Marlene wouldn't let her join the Fireflies because she promised her mother to keep her safe. And Ellie knew that Marlene knew her mom, because Ellie Marlene gave Ellie the knife and all that stuff. So that's indicated in the game. Here, it's not. But I would have loved to have seen she gives birth and then we show, or at the very least, based on what you've set it up, show Marlene giving Ellie to whatever, orphanage or to Fedra or whatever it was that they did. Why can't we see that? Like, I think that would have had an impact, bringing it full circle. We've seen where everybody's come from now, where they've started, where they've been, and now we get to see the ending of these two characters that we love. And to your point, if we have a full episode 10 that's nothing but Salt Lake City, we get to explore a little bit more of that heavy feeling that Ellie's got. We get to explore a much more timely version of Joel losing his shit. Because that's a great part of the game. And yeah, I mean, and I liked the way they did it, but I think I would have liked it a little more of the almost silent music overpowered. Like, I wanted that near the end. Give me at the beginning cruel, just dastardly Joel. You know what I mean? Like, have the first few of them, like, where he's just mowing people down, and some people are, because you go through a lot of enemies in the game. And I get that they've tried to make it a little more realistic in the show. But I think with that motivation that Joel had in the show, it would have made more sense to have more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can up the ante a little bit and show kind of more parallel to the game, right? Because the game, you have these endless amounts of enemies. The show is kind of toned it down a little bit to both be realistic. But if you're ever going to break that, this would be the moment to do it.
Yeah, and nobody's going to be mad at you for it. Like,
no. Because it's the final episode. It's wrapping up the season. It makes sense to go big. And then you can really dive into kind of the cinematic aspect of things as well and leave everybody feeling really, really good. Because I'll be kind of honest, I liked the episode, but it wasn't my favorite.
Yeah.
Like, it was, oh, okay, cool. We're done. And I think kind of what you're talking about with having an episode 9 that was just straight flashback, and then episode 10 that finishes it off. Game of Thrones has done that well in the past. And other shows have done it as well, where you kind of, you get to this where it's about to wrap up, and then you take a huge step back and look at kind of the world as a whole, which is amazing because all it does is build hype for the last one. And that, I think, would have been very, very cool, because now we get to spend 45 minutes, 43 minutes, keep the same runtime, that's fine, but it's all in Salt Lake. You understand a little bit more about why Ellie is, kind of a Debbie Downer at this moment. You can introduce all these other things leading to it. Then it makes it more impactful when Marlene is okay with cutting her brain open, even though she she told her mom that she's going to take care of her. Like, you could show that, like you were saying, give it to the orphanage or Fedra or wherever it is. Maybe you could do a couple scenes there of Marlene watching Ellie growing up from afar, a little cutscene in episode 9. So that way it's more impactful, because I wasn't buying it. She's like, I promised her mom that I'd keep her safe.
Yeah.
I was like, up until the point that it's like, the first time we meet Ellie, you've got her locked in a bedroom, handcuffed.
Yeah.
Like, what the heck, dude?
Yeah.
You had no compunctions about dropping her dead, and if she had been bitten and infected when you found her. But now it's like, oh, that goes all out the window for the greater good, and blah 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 blah. So I think if we had an episode 9 to really explore that relationship, I would have liked it a lot better.
Yeah.
As it stands, I'm excited because the show's been great so far, but it's not like other things we have reviewed where I'm like, I cannot wait for season 2 to come around. At this point, I'm hoping season 2 is Anna and Marlene. Or exploring something else, exploring a little bit more of this world rather than just going straight to gameplay.
Well, I think I'm excited for season 2 because I know what's coming. And I know that they ramp up the darkness and the emotion and there is not, people are going to be mad about season 2 and season 3. They're going to be pissed. And I'll tell you right now, yeah, they're going to be pissed. I'll leave it at that. And I know you've watched.
I know why they're going to be pissed.
Yeah, you've watched Oshi, so you understand there's probably 3 different reasons they're going to be pissed. And they're going to be pissed. There will be people that will stop watching this show because of the way that they take this show. It's not an easy thing to look. There's a reason I love it. It's because it's hard to play. It's a hard game to play.
Yeah, because I didn't know anything about the first game before Oshi started playing the second game. So my introduction to Last of Us was the first 30 minutes of game 2. So
yikes.
When I was hit with it, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Whatever. Yeah. And then, coming back and getting a little bit more of the whole story, I'm like, oh, yeah, I get it now. Because she was upset.
I had to turn it off. When you get through that first segment, I took about a 2-day break.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't process it. And then I got about halfway through the game and I had to turn it off again for another 2 or 3 days because I couldn't process what they were making me do. It just didn't work. It worked beautifully because it didn't work for me. You know what I mean? That's great storytelling. And I think a lot of people are seeing that with this episode because a lot of people are up in arms about the way Joel acted and the fact what he did, because it's a hard choice, right? Like the world or what's left of it and one person. You know what I mean? That how much impact can she make without what makes her special, being that she's immune? And how many, you can't recreate that, not safely, right? I mean,
right.
And then you're asking somebody else to volunteer. So it's like, oh man, it's rough. And if you think what you watched this season was hard to watch and the emotions were high, this was nothing compared to 2. 2 is rough when it comes to the emotion. There is a lot of emotional shit happening, and not the least of which is having to watch these 2 characters deal with the way that this show ended. That conversation, it's not the end of it. And man, there's a lot of emotion coming. Yeah. Fan Master, Last was now over. Now we have 1 to 2 years for season 2. Yep. It's going to be hurtful. Hopefully they figure it out quicker than later. I know, Gray, zero choice for Joel. He's become a father. No father would choose otherwise.
Excellent analogy.
Yeah. And that was, just so you know, Alec, that was going to be my next question. Would you do the same thing Joel did?
Oh, yeah. Oh, easy.
Yeah.
After I've hoofed it across the country with this kid that I didn't want, but ended up liking.
Yeah.
After Tess got killed on the same job way back in the beginning, after your punk ass, Marlene, beat me to the facility and I left earlier because of all the bullshit I had to go through, 100% I'm taking the kid.
Yeah. Well, and I'm wiping your facility to the freaking dust. Yeah, everybody's dead. And and I'm there too. All of those reasons, I agree. But I also think of it and this is something that that has bothered me about the game too. But Gray has a good point before I get into that. He was full on tunnel vision and probably flashbacks of Sarah. Yeah, I loved the visualization of him losing it, because you watch that.
Oh no, it looks like we lost JJ. This is awkward, guys. This has never happened before. I don't even know what to do. I don't know how to change.
Hey, I'm back.
That was terrible, JJ. I didn't know what to do. I was scared. I was all alone. Gray was laughing at me.
Yeah.
I'm on the left-hand side of the screen. This is uncharted territory. Yeah, anyways, go ahead. Finish your
I gotta cock my head to the other side this time looking at you. Sorry, yeah, my computer just decided it wanted to kick me off the internet for a millisecond. So, yeah. So to Gray's point, full tunnel vision. Like I love that switch of face. Like you could see the emotions were turned off at that point. Like it was everyone's gonna die, and I'm gonna save this girl, and there's nothing, no one's gonna stop me. And I love that. I love the visualization because you got that in the show, and you don't get that in the game because you are Joel. You're just running through murking people, right? And so that's I love the slowdown. I love because I love the music of this game and show so much too. Just thoroughly enjoyed like how they went almost silent and all you could hear was Gustavo Santalaya's just beautiful music in the background. Like it was awesome scene. I will say that for me making that choice, like I think a little, and I've had conversations with people about it, but I've never heard anybody say, most people say I didn't think about that. But what drives me crazy and has from day one when I went through the game, what's driven me crazy, one of the things about it is that they act like it's just a simple thing to make this vaccine, right? Like, look, it's not easy to make a vaccine in our modern world with everything working the way that it does. And even if you in the modern world eliminate the need for the FDA's approval in our country and the testing and everything else, in a world where shit's barely running and like the hospital, sure, I'm sure they have some of those things, they have power, but you don't have a test sample, you don't have, and you're only going to get one shot at this. Like, and I will say that I appreciated one thing that they added to this episode that wasn't in the game was there was a little more explanation of how they were going to use what she had going on and why she was immune and how that would impact. That made a lot more sense. But I'm like, okay, so you just told me that you can recreate this fungus shooting signals to itself so that she's immune, it doesn't attack because it thinks that she is it because she's always had it. How do you just make it seem like you can just snap your fingers and recreate those signals that are firing? Fuck off. You have one doctor in a facility that's run down and hasn't been used for how long or barely been used for how long. It's not that simple. So in my head, I'm like, you're killing this girl for the chance of creating a vaccine. It's not a guarantee.
No. Plus, it's a Firefly doctor, so he's probably only got like 2 or 3 years of medical school under his belt.
Well, and I mean that's the other thing, and that's I don't want to get spoilery, but tomorrow when we're playing the last episode, feel free to because we meet this doctor again later. Okay.
He doesn't look like he went through medical school 20 years ago and is still.
You got it, boss. And so I appreciated that this version that we see in the show was a little older. He had some gray hair, so he at best this guy 20 years ago is still fresh out of medical school at best.
Yeah, not a lot of clinical hours put in.
Yeah. So the fact that we can just be so certain that it's okay to end this girl's life in order to create a vaccine or a cure, I'm not buying it. And if I'm Joel, it's not worth that risk by any stretch. And Gray also brings up, I doubt a lot of gamers really internalized his true pathos while smoking Fireflies.
Get wrecked.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, look, I get to murk a bunch of guys. Like, that's
got him.
Sneak around, shoot through windows. That's what I'm going to do. And yeah, so I think that's my favorite part of all of this show. But this episode, because I will say, I'm with you, Alec. I think it was almost anticlimactic of an episode based on last episode. 8 and 9, going from 8 to 9. 9 took a hit because of that, because 8 was probably, in a lot of people's opinions and mine, more emotional for the two of them than even this one could be. And there was a lot of emotion. I think this was the most technically emotional episode we've had, most powerful in so many ways. But I think it suffered because of last week being as intense and struggling as it was. And that's why another reason I think that having an intermission episode that separates those two and gets you out of the emotion of these two characters could have really served this episode well. I think having that separation, but going from very intense emotional episode to very intense emotional episode didn't help this episode as much as it could have. Not to say it was bad. I loved the episode.
Yeah, that's the tricky part because I liked it too. But
Yeah.
I was sitting there, I was going, as a finishing kind of tie the knot type of episode, I was just kind of like, okay, cool.
Yep. Didn't do yourself any favors.
Yeah.
Doing 9 episodes instead of interjecting something with, like I said, I think you could have done an Anna and Marlene backstory for an episode and it would have given you that separation. And then we get to 10 or this episode and we're reminded of the emotion. And I think the emotion would have been even more powerful than it already was based on that. No, that's just my opinion. I'm not a movie maker, even though maybe I should be, but.
What's our verdict, movie makers?
That's right. That's right.
Patent pending.
If I had that kind of funding, I don't know I'd be doing this at all either. But yeah, again, overall, just it was a great episode, and it was a great finish. And I really, if I didn't believe in Pedro Pascal before, which I did, but I definitely do after this episode. Like it about wrecked me. Like I texted Alec like the emoji with like waterfall
crying
tears. Like,
yeah.
And that happened after when they were sitting in that spot, and he, as soon as he said that line of "it wasn't time that healed," I was like, oh my god. Out there coming, wipe. I was like, I'm not crying, you are, you dick.
It's funny. Raining.
Yeah. Allergies, I swear.
Gray brings up a great point here. It looks like they shot this as if they wouldn't get a second season. Kind of a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Felt a little bit rushed near the end.
I'm glad you saw that out because I don't have that comment yet. So
gotcha.
So you may want to watch comments because I'm in the lag again because my internet, I think.
Gotta watch comments. Got it. All right. Well, do you have anything else, JJ?
I don't. I'm kind of torn. Like, yeah,
Gray baby girl line.
Yeah, that one got me too last week. But I think because of the emotion, like the hype of her bashing in David's face with the emotion didn't get me on that one as much as this one, where it's kind of a downtrodden and they're both in this weird emotional place. And then they have this cool moment with the giraffes and then they have that conversation. And I'm like, oh, my heart can't take it. And then I also know what's coming, which doesn't help. I'm like, I know that he's getting ready to murder an entire freaking slew of fireflies because, yeah, it's rough. And I hate Marlene.
Boom, boom.
Okay. That's all I got.
I don't got anything else either.
All right. Well, I'm sure we'll talk more spoilers tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. We're going to go deep into spoilers.
Yeah.
I got a couple things I would like to bring up.
Yeah. That was my biggest fear coming into this last episode. I was like, how do I talk about this episode and not talk about what's coming? But you can't talk about what's coming more than what we did. I think we probably talked more than we should have, even with telling people they're going to be mad.
I love this from Gray. Well, she's gone ding dong.
That's right.
Bye-bye, Marlene.
Stupid Marlene. Yeah. I think that's why I've always been mad at us, because like you're doing this over something that's not a guarantee. And I get the hope. You like, fingers crossed this creates a vaccine, but wish in one hand, shit in the other is always my, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I hate the idea of ending someone like that on a hope, especially exactly. A 14-year-old girl. Fuck off. Anyway. All right, Alec, before I get mad and fired up again and we start talking even deeper and repeating ourselves, tell everybody where they can find us when they're not watching us live.
Happy to. Thank you for joining us as we wrap up the season finale of The Last of Us. We'll be going live tomorrow for the final playthrough of part 1. Can't wait for the giraffe scene. It's going to be dope. If you've been with us for the entire run of this season, we appreciate the listens and hope you continue to swing by for all our new releases. Mm-hmm. We are still going live on Thursdays for Mandalorian Season 3, and I'm sure there'll be something else when that is done that will lead to more live shows, as they are the most fun for us. We get to interact with you in real time. It's amazing. Special thanks to our wonderful patron, Ginge Binge Appetite. You are truly a gift to humanity. If you guys haven't been turned on to lifelong What's Our Verdict listeners, what can we do to change that? Let us know. And if you are a lifelong listener, join us on Patreon, where every dollar earned goes towards lengthening Matson's Hawaii vacation so he stays away from us. If you would like to listen to other content like our movie releases, tough squash. We have none. Just kidding. You can find all of our content on every major platform, including Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Ghana, and YouTube. Just search for What's Our Verdict. With that, I'll send it back to the Raja of Rap, the behemoth of bust, JJ.
Thanks, buddy. It's really fucking with me being on the right side of the screen right now. I don't know what to do with myself. It's weird.
Thank you for the laugh, Gray. I appreciate you laughing at my lame jokes.
Hell yeah. God, I just got all the comments at once, including fun to smoothies.
That's going into next week.
That's right. We'll tell Matson you appreciate the smoothies. Yeah, join us tomorrow. It should be fun. We're gonna deep dive, finish up the game, and then we'll have some discussion. So if you want to be in on what I play next, because we are going to keep it going, we've decided we're going to continue to play games. I have promised to play part 2. I don't know if I'm emotionally ready to start that game again yet, but I will play it. So yeah, join us. Tell us what you want us to play. We're going to be just goofing around. So we'll see you tomorrow. And yeah, as always, we appreciate you tuning in. We will catch you on the next one.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Cinemagical.
Whoa!